the money in your bank account, is not really there. This is not an exaggeration or a lie. It's simply a truth most of us never think about. If everyone went to the bank today and tried to withdraw their money, the system would freeze within hours. Because the money we keep in banks isn't sitting in vaults the way we imagine. This isn't a mistake. It's one of the oldest building blocks of modern finance. This is called fractional reserve banking. The name sounds complicated, but the story is actually quite simple. To understand where it comes from, we need to go back to medieval Europe. Back then, money was nothing more than gold and silver. The wealthy kept coins and chests at home, but carrying gold was both heavy and dangerous. Eventually, people found a solution. They started entrusting their gold to reliable goldsmiths. In return, the goldsmith would give them a receipt, a piece of paper saying, "You're holding my gold, I can take it back whenever I want." Soon people noticed something. Carrying gold was hard, but carrying receipts was easy, so they began using these receipts instead of the gold itself. And that's where the foundation of the system appeared. Goldsmiths realized something. No one was asking for their gold at the same time. If they had 1,000 units of gold, they figured out they could write 2,000 receipts. They started lending out these extra receipts with interest and making a profit. In other words, they were earning money from gold that didn't exist. It looked like a trick, but it worked at the time. And after centuries passed, this practice became what we now call banking. By the time we reached the 17th century, governments had started using this method as well. For example, the Bank of England was actually founded to lend money to the state. The government was broke because of wars, and the bank was lending money that it didn't even have. And of course, these debts were paid by ordinary people. This system was repeated in America, too. The first banks issued banknotes backed by gold, but it didn't take long for people to realize there wasn't enough gold in the vaults. The result? Bank runs, panic, and collapses. To prevent the system from falling apart, governments created central banks, so people would keep trusting the system. Today, here's how it works. In the past, banks had to hold 10% of their deposits as reserves, meaning if you deposited $100, the bank kept $10 and could lend out the rest. But this changed in 2020. In the United States, reserve requirements were removed. Banks are no longer required to hold any portion of the deposits they collect. So what stops them? The answer: the Basel rules. International rules that define how much risk banks can take. According to these rules, banks must set aside a portion of their own capital against risky loans. So modern banks don't lend based on deposits. It's the opposite. They issue loans first, then adjust the reserves afterward according to regulations. This is why most of the money circulating today is not printed by the central bank. It's money created by banks through lending. Money that exists only as debt. This system has three major consequences. Inflation is inevitable. More credit, more money, faster loss of value. Debt never ends. Since money itself is born as debt, the system depends on continuous borrowing. Power concentrates in certain hands. Banks earn interest, governments run the system with taxes, and the wealthy grow stronger through inflation. This is also the common point in the major crises throughout history. 1929, 2008, and many more. In all of them, when trust breaks, the system collapses. Here's what we should take from this. Money is not real wealth. Real wealth is land, knowledge, skills, production, resources, and freedom. Blindly trusting the system protects no one. But understanding how it works is the strongest tool you have to protect yourself. If this way of thinking opened a new window for you, subscribe. There are answers in history, and together we will discover where to look.